Yes, this is a very widespread theory, the time lag theory, which is saying that, oh well, don't be so impatient because equality is going to come in due time as the society develops. And many feminists have met this as a response to their claims, because you can see, and my point of view is that this theory is invalid, and we have many examples of backlash. So in order to have gender equality, I think we have to do positive action, affirmative action, quotas, etc., etc., because otherwise the male dominance is just reproducing itself. So I don't think equality is coming by itself in due time. I think we have to work very hard for it.
You studied very hard about quote. What do you think about quote improved freedom and positive action for women in the world?
Well, I'm doing research on gender quotas, and this is amazing because it's so controversial, and now you have about 100 countries in the world. That means half the countries in the world are using some kind of gender quotas in their election, either by the law for all parties or some parties, especially on the left. And the argument is that right now men are not dominating politics because they're more qualified than women. That is nonsense. Men are dominating politics because there is an old boys network where men tend to recruit other men. They don't call it men. They don't see themselves as having a gender. But the fact is that women are in fact being excluded. And therefore, by quota is in fact just saying, okay, we go in there where the nominations of the candidates for the election, which we call the secret garden of nomination. Nobody really knows. The voters do not know who put the candidates on the list. And by quota we're saying, oh, there should be, for instance, 40% women among the candidates, or that at the top of the lists, if you have a proportional representation system, we should have, for instance, one man, one woman, one man, one woman, alternating, or the zipper system as we call this. And this is in fact going directly to the problem that men tend to recruit other men, and they do not see women's qualifications. And that this has made historical jumps around in the world, for instance in South Africa, in Argentina, in Rwanda, in Uganda. But it doesn't cure all the problems women have in politics. You really have, there are many other things you have to do. This is just a simple question to a very complex, a simple answer to a very complex question. Yes, I travel around the world and give speeches about women in politics. And in many places, when I ask, what is the diagnosis? Why are women underrepresented? And I think the main problem is that the institutions do not include women. But many also women say, well, it's because women don't vote for women. And when they say that, I ask them, how do you know? How do you know? Don't you have secret voting in your country? Because in fact, you cannot know unless you have exit polls or survey data. And for the very few countries we have this kind of data, I would say the problem is not that women do not vote for women. The problem is that the men, almost no men, or very few men, vote for women. So if you have 30% women candidates, about 30% of the women will vote for a women candidate, but maybe 5% of the men. So I think we should stop blaming the women and start blaming and starting saying to the men also. Of course, they don't think they vote for a man. They think they vote for a trade unionist or somebody from my village. But the fact is, it's the biggest problem is the men who are undervoting for women.